Del Rio, Texas, home of Lake Amistad. Your host, Rob Wade. Two guys who dive. This episode of Two Guys Who Dive recorded live Saturday, 9 May 2015. Episode 136. Time to get back to it. Well, welcome once again to another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive, and I'm your host, Rob Wade, and I'm getting barked at by one of our dogs. I believe it's Ronan. Excuse me, uno momento, por favor, as I acquire my dog onto my lap here. All right, since you were so vocal getting things started, let's see if you'll say hi to everybody. Say hi to everybody. What a look. Meanwhile, my wife and producer is waving at our dog as if that's going to... Oh, and now Graza has to get back into the act. Now, you better say something. Okay, something like that. All right. And so now my chair is complete. Has a max load of 3. That'd be me and 2 dogs. So that's typically how it goes here. I've got this big comfy chair, but it's not so comfy because I'm always sitting on the edge of the seat. So now the edge of the seat is all crushed because my dogs have decided to always impose themselves upon my chair. So, and it's a first come first serve kind of thing. Usually Ronan is the first one I picked up. Usually he's the first one to want to be up here. He's definitely Daddy's little boy. And then the next spot is whoever gets here after he does. So it's been it feels like a long week this week. I didn't have any days off, and we're starting to come into summer, and I have a lot of use or lose leave I need to think about burning off. And I do... the thing is, as a scuba diver living in Southwest Texas, the weather is, with the exception of this year lately, the weather is usually so good, I feel like I'm on a somewhat of a vacation all the time. I've got a beautiful lake just down the road, and if I don't mind a little bit of a drive, we can go up to Balmorhea State Park, but for a weekend kind of a thing. And so... I don't know, being able to sit out and enjoy the kind of weather we typically have here in Del Rio, and being able to dive whenever I want to, for the most part, it seems like I don't need to take a lot of days off. And so I end up needing to take a lot of days off because you get to a point where you're carrying the max load of hours that you can for leave, for vacation, and you have to use it or you lose it. So... Oh, gosh, they're really pushing me onto the edge of the chair here. So I got to dive last weekend and said I'd be sharing some video with you, which I will be a little bit later on in the show. Going to hit, some of our normal categories and some of our little subject sections. What's the word I'm looking for? Segments. That's the word I'm looking for. Segments that we'll be covering. So starting off, movie reviews. We got to go see the latest Avengers movie, and of course we reviewed that last week because we got to see that Friday night. And again, if you haven't seen it, it's definitely well worth it. I've seen some interesting reviews on it from people who are actually much more critical about it. Sadly, the feminazis are all up in arms over the way that Scarlett Johansson's character, Black Widow, was written in the show. Personally, I didn't have an issue with it. If you know, first of all, it's a fictional character. It's a fictional character. It's a fictional story. None of it really happened. Okay, so first of all, get your panties out of a bunch and get over the fact that it's just a show. So anyway, and it's based on a comic book. Okay, all right. So they added a little, or they introduced some more backstory on Black Widow, Natasha's character as a young girl, and how she was treated or mistreated and conditioned and abused to become the person that she is. And, that's her demon to battle. That's her cross to bear, if you will. And it's her history. So everybody deals with things in their life different ways. Some more successfully than others. Oh, golly. Speaking of dealing successfully, you see the wrestling match going behind me with the dogs, trying to get comfortable. What are you doing? There. Flip around. So, to whatever degree you consider the pathos of the Black Widow character, that's what made her who she is. And she's dealing with these things that she can, and she's sharing what has been written to be her history. Take it as entertainment. Take it as explanation for her character. Don't take it as some sort of statement or political philosophy, although Joss Whedon has, very clearly liberal. He's very clearly a liberal activist, but just take it for what it is. It's telling the story of the character and move along. It was a good movie, enjoyable. Some felt it was mostly CGI fluff and unnecessary action. Somebody I know actually wrote that they thought the whole safe house bit was unnecessary. Again, it sort of is if you're taking it. Here's the thing: it's storytelling. It's telling some more backstory, some more giving you some more information about one of the characters, who has up to this point been given fairly little screen time compared to the more substantial members of the cast. And so I, as a viewer, as a person who appreciates good storytelling, and if you're going to give me an ensemble cast, give me an ensemble story. So I actually appreciated that Joss Whedon gave us more about Hawkeye's character. If you've been watching some of the other Marvel entries, like, for instance, the Marvel's Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which melds nicely in with the movies, I thought it was a nice tie-in to things that are going on in the background. And so really, if you're taking the movie all by itself, I can see that there would be some things that seem random, not random, but maybe random. Some people perceive them as random. But I've been watching all of the different Marvel shows, and it's not random to me. It makes sense to me, so I can appreciate it. Now, I mentioned that I've been looking forward to seeing the movie Black Sea, which got the poster here. Jude Law, and it did not make it to the theaters. It apparently went to video, and so, or if it did make it to theaters, it didn't make it around here. So it was available on Vudu, so I checked it out. It was definitely a submarine movie. There was precious little diving in there. It's pretty exciting. It's more not hard suit. The old hard helmet with the dry suit type thing with the lead boots, that kind of thing. There is that in there, and it's a pretty suspenseful part. Wow, my air conditioner is making some seriously loud noise. It was very suspenseful in that aspect, but I got to warn you, the language is pretty bad. It's set in modern day, but they acquire a very old Russian sub, and so it's the dynamic of people who are doing something strictly for money, and you find there's some twists in the whole storyline as to what's motivating. A kind of a sad ending to the movie, but again, it was entertaining enough. It was suspenseful enough. If you're claustrophobic, this movie could definitely give you some issues, but I enjoyed it. I thought it was good for the most part. I say good. It was more good than bad. If you're a diver, it doesn't give you much in that aspect. So overall, I'd give it about a 7. Like I said, the language is just horrible in there, and it's difficult to understand some of the characters. Obviously, the Russian characters, when they're trying to speak English, it's pretty bad. But even worse, believe it or not, was when the other characters tried to speak, because there's Jude Law himself actually had a pretty heavy accent. It was Scottish, if I recall, and I think you had an Irish guy, a couple of Scottish guys. It was just pretty heavy on the accent, so it was difficult to understand it sometimes because of the way that sound was edited. So if you're going to have people with accents, you need to make sure that you can hear them clearly. I think the same problem kind of happened in the last Batman movie with Bane. They ended up, when they released it to Blu-ray and DVD, it's my understanding that they actually re-edited the sound to help augment or help make Bane's voice, which was significantly filtered through the mouthpiece that he was wearing, significantly enhanced to help him be more understood, because it was virtually impossible to understand him when the movie was out in the theater. So I think they could have done that with this movie as well. There's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of activity, and so it's difficult to understand them when you have a heavy accent with all sorts of excitement going on. So if you get a chance to see it and you're a diver, or if you just like a suspenseful movie, like I said, it's about 7.5 on the Richter scale. So next coming up, I believe it's next weekend, is Tomorrowland. I am in no way, I hate George Clooney, okay? I was glad he died in Gravity. I just don't like him as an actor. Not a fan of Sandra Bullock either. The only movie I actually enjoyed her in was Demolition Man. Because she was just too funny in her delivery in that movie. I just don't enjoy her in any other movies, really. But, so anyway, George Clooney is in this Disney movie. Seems like it's based on one of the Disney rides or attractions. And it looks like an interesting premise, although the latest trailer that I saw, I don't know, it kind of made me wince where it was going. I thought from the first trailers it looked a lot more impressive and interesting than it seems to now in the latest trailer. So my excitement to see it is a little bit tempered, but still, the jury's out, so I am not going to say anything just yet. And then after that for this month should be San Andreas. So with The Rock, that should be an interesting movie. I think it's this year's 2012, big disaster movie. It looks pretty impressive, along the same lines as how impressive 2012 was, when everything was blowing up and falling apart. That was pretty cool. I would love to see, when it comes to disaster movies, what I would like to see is something a little bit more plausible, and would be a movie based on the Yellowstone caldera. That thing is a super volcano. For those who don't know, under Yellowstone Park is a massive super volcano. Now, they've just recently done some sound mapping of everything underneath, and they've gotten for miles down. They've gotten a pretty good map of how this thing lives. You know, the circulatory system, for lack of a better description, of this caldera. And the thing is, if this decides to go, that's it for everything. It's pretty much believed that not only would the United States be obliterated, but there'd be enough spewed that it would cause essentially a nuclear winter, and that would be it. So it's pretty impressive. I think it would be cool to see a movie based on worst case scenario if that thing went. That would be be a pretty exciting movie, I think. So anyway, that's what's coming up. Tomorrowland and San Andreas. Again, not a lot of stuff going on this year. There's some big blockbusters, and then in between, virtually nothing exciting. Still looking for that somewhere that Robot Overlords, because that's got some interesting actors in it and interesting premise, and kind of looking. I would like to find that somewhere. All right, let's hit a little bit of tech news. So. Microsoft had Build, and that didn't impress me much at all. I was actually depressed me. Out of that and the subsequent Ignite conference that they had, one of the things that came out is that apparently, and this is kind of maybe a mischaracterization of the facts, but essentially Microsoft is trying to say that Windows 10 will be the final version of Windows. In other words, they're not going to come out with an actual new version. They're now, because of the groundwork they're laying with Windows 10, they're supposedly going to a operating system as a service kind of a thing. So that you would get frequent updates that actually add new features or enhancements to the operating system on the fly. There'll be no more just go out and buy a new computer with a new operating system. You simply have the latest updates and features. So I guess that would come. Those features and the updates and feature enhancements would come via the two ways we get things on the system right now, which would be through the trying to focus the screen here. Through the regular Windows update that everybody should be running out there automatically. You should have your machine set to install the updates automatically. Through that, and also through the Windows Store. So if you've got Windows 8 or 8.1, you can get apps and things that add capabilities via the Windows Store. So that looks like those would be the two ways that those things would come to the operating system from now on. As an IT person, I think that's ridiculous. It's utter folly. I think that whatever they think they've done with the operating system, which, again, I make no bones about it, I hate Windows 10. I'm testing on a machine here, and I'm testing it on a Lumia 635, and I absolutely hate the operating system. It just pukes all over all the things that I really like about Windows 8. One of these days, since it seems to be getting closer to release, I think I may do another video that shows you the pain you have to go through to do things in Windows 10 compared to what you could do in Windows 8. So anyway, I'm just convinced that there's no way that this lays the groundwork for all future versions. I think at some point there's going to be a new thing, a new kind of hardware that they'll have to rewrite the operating system. There will be no just we send you updates and it makes it work. I think there will be hardware, if nothing else, there will be hardware that requires them to completely redo the operating system. Even if it's not hardware, let's say hardware continues the way it is with some degree of backward compatibility. So that does not drive a rewrite of a recreation, a reinvention of the operating system. I think that the way that people want to use a machine, the way that people want to interface with it, will change enough that they simply can't do it without rewriting the operating system. I refuse to believe that. I mean, look at the track record so far. They completely redid things when they came out with Windows Phone 7. Then because it was because they want to introduce the whole Metro thing and hubs and integrated social, etc. They wanted to get that out there, but then they realized, but we can't go further with this, so they rewrote it completely to give us Windows Phone 8 and 8.1. Now, there were some things about that puked all over what was great about Windows Phone 7, but they weren't serious enough for me, who's an enthusiast, to just throw up my hands and say I give up. I thought Windows Phone 8 was not as good as 7, but was close enough. But now Windows Phone 10 is yet another rewrite. So 2 years later, they're rewriting it again. So you can't tell me, because of all the whining of the idiots out there who claim to be power users, but they couldn't grasp the concept of live tiles and how that start screen worked. So now we're going backwards with Windows 10. And so it's a complete rewrite. You can't tell me that's not going to happen again. I find it impossible to believe. Okay, so shifting gears just a little bit, the Surface 3 finally shipped. I've got the Surface Pro 3, which is the 12-inch version. Then they came out with a 10-inch version called the Surface 3. So it's essentially the same device, smaller, but there are some enhancements. It's definitely lighter. One of the guys that I work with, he actually ordered one because he wanted to replace his aging laptop. And he'd seen me using my Surface Pro 3, and he really liked it, but he didn't want to spend that kind of money. And he didn't want to get something quite so big, but he wanted to be able to plug into stuff. So obviously you could, with the right adapters, etc., you can plug into, external monitor and keyboard and all that fun stuff. So he pre-ordered the Surface 3, and it came in. I gotta say, that thing is pretty impressive. It's light. It looks good. I mean, it literally does look like a smaller version of the Surface Pro 3. Nice little unit. The base model of basically 400 some odd bucks, and he likes it so far. He's really enjoying it. What's so funny is where I work, when we have our staff meetings, there's like one side of it's like a U shape. One side of it, we've got me, one of the other flight chiefs who's got a Surface Pro 3, and you got him with the Surface 3. We're like the Surface gang. And then you got everybody else running iPads and Android pieces of junk, and so it's just kind of funny. It's us against them, the enlightened versus the sheeple, the iSheep, or Android sheep, whatever. Although one of them he may come over to the light side, so because he's interested. He's looking at the devices that we have and thinks it's pretty impressive. So let's see, one last thing. Oh, this is a little bit of an editorial, although I kind of editorialize for everything, don't I? I cannot encourage people enough to just get your head around the cloud, which is nothing more than a new euphemism to describe the internet and services, software as a service, and integrating your life into something you don't have direct contact with. For the longest time, I ran a domain server and an email server here at the house. So I had complete control over both machines. So when you went to www.cetifox.net, you were seeing that out in the internet, but you were connecting to my server here at the house. If you received an email from me, it was via my email server here. Eventually, I did that for years. IT guys, we kind of geek out on that stuff. But let's face it. The bottom line is, that gets tiring, managing your own stuff. So I decided that paying somebody else, a hosting company, was worth my time, the time that I was already investing in trying to manage, keep up the security, etc., on my own machines, and not to mention the electricity from running that much hardware here. So now my website is hosted. So Maybe see if I can crank down the brightness a little bit here. There we go. That's a little bit less harsh. That's better. And so I don't have to mess with it. I do have to log in if I want to make changes, etc. But that goes with the territory, and so they keep up. They're more secure because they have to be, and so because they have people paid specifically to do that work. So that works out for me. So now my website and email are on the cloud now. So I've got, because we use all Microsoft devices. We use all Windows devices. We've got my wife's tablet, my tablet, her laptop, my laptop, this PC, the workstation that does all the work here, this music studio, as well as my test machine, and our server, our media server, are all Windows machines. Windows 8.1, in fact, except for the test machine, which is using the crappy Windows 10. So, just checking the chat room. So, the beauty of relying on the cloud is whoever is supplying your cloud services or your services, they've got to make sure they are secure. They've got to make sure that they're providing you guaranteed uptime and security for your data. But I'll be honest with you, there is no way that 99.9% of the consumers, the users out there, are maintaining as tight a security as Google for their Android cloud, as Apple, their iCloud, or Microsoft, their Azure services. There is no way that 99.9% of you people out there have anywhere close to the security that they've got going. In other words, if you think that by keeping all of your contacts on your SIM and keeping everything on your phone, if you think that you are actually maintaining greater and only keeping things on your hard drive, you are a disaster waiting to happen. I can guarantee you there are people who easily could hack into your machine when you're sitting at your house, connecting to your Wi-Fi at network, and that they are easily able to hack into your system, hack into your network, and do all sorts of havoc without you even having a clue that they're doing it. Okay? So you have to first accept the fact that they are going to be more secure than you are. Now, the bigger they are in that arena, it's in their best interest to be focusing on that. So I definitely wouldn't trust to cheaper, less known cloud services, okay? But sticking with one of those three or all of those three, if you're using cross-platform type stuff, is the way to go. Here's the thing. I get tired of seeing on Facebook and elsewhere the messages, hey, I got a new phone, or I broke my phone, I got a replacement, and so I don't have any of your contact. Could you send me your contact info? That's just ridiculous, folks. Why do you have it stored on your phone? Your phone should simply be a mechanism, a device to access your cloud information. When I turn on my phone, I've got a Windows phone. When I turn on my phone, when I turn on my tablet, when I turn on my PC, and I enter my information, I put in my password, which it's passworded. My wife actually has an HP that has the fingerprint thing, and she uses that and likes it. Anyway, when you enter that, you are now connecting to a machine that, while you can configure a number of things to be synchronized to your machine, it is all primarily cloud-based. So if I break my phone, no big whoop. Everything that I have, my pictures are set to automatically upload to the OneDrive. Video that I take is automatically uploaded to the OneDrive. My entire machine is backed up on a regular basis, all automatically, all behind the scenes. And so if this phone breaks, all I have to do is get another Windows phone. As soon as I plug in, as soon as I log into it, it automatically starts synchronizing everything I need synchronized. I can even tell it what stuff not to synchronize. Same with my tablet. When I dropped my Surface Pro 3 and shattered the screen and had to contact Microsoft to get it repaired, they actually decided that it was so far gone that they had to send a refurbished unit. So what they sent that, obviously it has none of my stuff on there. And I wiped everything off of my old one because it would turn on. The touch screen didn't work. I wiped everything that was on it. So when this machine came to me, all I had to do was start it up. It goes through its setup process. I put in my account, and all of my stuff's there. My contact information, all of my groups are there. All of my files are accessible. Everything that I needed was right there. I lost nothing. Zero, zip, nada, zilch. I lost nothing because my device broke. There was nothing on this machine that I thought, oh, it was only on that machine. No. So use the cloud. It is only to your benefit that you stop relying on your stupid SIM card that may not be compatible with the next device that you get, especially since they keep changing the type of SIMs that they've got in there. Now they got these nano SIMs or whatever it is. And you will never ever say, I lost your contact information, unless you lost it by deleting it. Okay? So use the cloud. Get over your fear and just use the cloud. If you're using Android, you're going to use the Google services. If you're using Apple, you're going to use, iOS, you're going to use their iCloud. If you're using Windows Phone, Windows PCs, you're going to use the Outlook.com, which they're going through some changes as far as branding, etc. But essentially, you've got your account, and that account gets you into pretty much everything. I love that feature. Plus, you can set up the two-step authentication, which really makes your stuff secure, so somebody can't. It's harder for somebody to actually hack into your stuff through social engineering. All right. Still looking for a permanent co-host for the show here. I'm reluctant to change the name of the show if I don't have to. So again, if you're a diver in the local Del Rio area, I'd love to have you come out and be a co-host on the show and just add your 2 cents on stuff. You know, one of the fun things about having Robert on the show was that he is an Apple guy. You know, he's familiar with the PCs, of course, because of a previous job that he had, but he definitely likes the Apple stuff. So he and I would have the friendly rivalry going on. But that's what made it fun. We'd have these discussions and we'd have a blast. But so by all means, love to have you think about joining the show here. So just let me know. Check our Facebook page definitely and send me some email. All right. I promised at the top of the show that I would bring to you a video of the dive that went on last weekend. I had a great time. Went diving with John Biven, who is frequently in the chat room watching this show, and had a great time meeting him and his wife. And we went out to Scuba Cove. We were a little bit worried, or I was a little bit worried at first, because earlier in the day, the weather was really looking cloudy and misty and all that fun stuff, and was not confident that it was going to clear off enough to make a dive fun. Because if the water's cold, which it is, quite frankly, when you're getting out, you want it to be pretty warm so you can warm up quickly, because it was chilly. It was actually colder. So let me switch to video. Yikes. There we go. And there he is, the man himself. The man, the myth, the legend. Yes, it was definitely chilly. I was wishing for my 7 mil at the beginning of the dive. I've also uploaded this video to the Ceti Fox Productions YouTube channel, so you can check that out if you'd like. And it's all its HD glory. Just shows you never know what you're going to find. told people many times before, I enjoy diving just for the sake of diving. You know, a lot of people will ask me, well, when you dive out there at Lake Amistad, what's there to see? You're underwater. I mean, there's this to see. This is pretty much the extent of it. I mean, you can go deeper and see some of the big catfish, and every once in a while you run into a big school of white bass or something like that. And of course you see stuff that's been left underwater. But it's just doing this. The worst dive I ever had was wonderful. It was being able to experience this. I don't, my wife is a saltwater snob. She's happy to say that, and that's fine. But, I have to confess, I don't understand not wanting to do this all the time. Now, I'll grant you, being in the colder water is not ideal. I'll get chilled pretty quick and want to get out. I was definitely done. After I think we were down for 40 minutes. And I was cold enough. I was ready to get out. I still had plenty of air left, but I was cold. But still, getting to do this. I was glad I was able to run John out to the two boats, so he got to see both the sunken boats. Which, the water is shallower now. The lake level has dropped about 4 feet since last weekend. Weekend before last, rather. Interestingly, I got an email. Let's see if I can pull it up while you're watching the video here. I got an email via the Del Rio Dive Club email. Asking about doing some diving to recover some equipment, and they were asking if there was a team that could do this. And of course I said, well, we don't actually have a team. We have say what company or anything. It just said, can you provide more details? Or said, looking for a dive team to help recover some industrial equipment from Del Rio. Equipment is in about 25 to 45 feet of water. Divers will need to attach rigging to the equipment to aid in its recovery. And of course, I relayed that we don't have an actual team. Don't have an actual team for that, but that I and at least one other diver has some experience in doing something similar. When a couple of years, 3 years ago, I guess, Robert and I were asked to assist the city of Del Rio to remove some boulders that had gotten dislodged when they were trying to install a third nozzle for the water pump that pulls water from the spring to feed our water system in Del Rio. And it was a lot of work. We did this in February. We had our 7mm wetsuits on because it was so darn cold outside, but forgetting that forgetting that San Felipe Spring it's a spring, and it was a constant 74, 76 year round. So I certainly was sweating in my wetsuit. I mean, I could tell I was getting almost overheated in it. But getting out, we were going through some air, even though we were like barely 10 feet underwater. Except for when I was trying to crawl into the spring to get underneath one boulder that was really blocking the way. When you're exerting yourself that much to, attach rigging to these boulders so they could get them out of the way, get them out of the water, that was a lot of work. That was lots of work. So, great. Dog's going nuts. All right, so that was our dive last week at Lake Amistad. So again, visibility is pretty decent. Shocked as all get out that it's still decent. So, and as always, the video these days is shot with our Sea Life DC 1400 Pro Duo, and so I wanted to take just a few minutes to kind of show you that camera. Now, the beauty of it is really not much different than your average camera. It's HD, has high resolution pictures, etc. But because it's designed specifically for diving, it's got got a good sized screen, easy to work controls, stick battery and SD card in the bottom, etc. And you can hook it up via micro USB to charge or to transfer the data. But why do that? Just take the card out and stick it in your computer, which is exactly what I do. But the beauty of this device, ta-da, very nice. Beauty of this device is that it's got some features that are unique to scuba diving. One of the things that I really like, as I pointed out in the video that you just saw, is that this camera has some digital filtering built into it for diving. So when you turn it on, you can go to click on the menu or press the menu button. You can bring up a setting that has easy setup, or you can go into very specific detailed setup. The easy setup is really very easy. You can tell it, okay, you basically answer the questions. It asks, are you shooting on land or underwater? If you say on land, then that's done. That's it. If you're shooting on water, then it asks you, are you snorkeling or diving? Or basically it says, are you going 25 feet or shallower, 25 feet or deeper? And if you do shallower, then it puts a very light red filter on it to compensate for the modest loss of the red spectrum as you're diving. Then if you choose diving, 25 feet or deeper, then it puts a heavier red filter on it. Now, one of the things that it's not in the easy setup, you have to actually go into the more detailed setup, and I keep forgetting to do out here at the lake, is you can actually, when you apply this filter, you can tell it whether it's actually got 4 settings for going underwater. Each of them are the shallower or deeper, for blue water or green water. So they realize that a lot of divers are diving in freshwater lakes, and so those are typically green hued, as opposed to saltwater was typically blue hued. So it actually would help compensate for the heavier green on a dive, and I keep forgetting to set that. More often than not, I'm diving with the video light and the strobe light on it, and I tell it that. That's the other thing. When you're going through the easy setup, you can tell it, are you diving without the light and the strobe? Or are you diving with the strobe? Or are you diving with the video light? Or are you diving with both? And so it knows, okay, if you're diving with the strobe, then it will actually do the filtered mode only for the video. If you tell it you're diving with the video light, then it will the pictures will be with the because it's assuming you're not using flash, then those will be using the red filter, and the video won't. But so we've got the Pro Duo, and this is the basic setup. So you've got And it's dripping all over everything. Great. Didn't dry out from the last time. Great. That was fun because I hit the touchpad. There's a touchpad on this keyboard, which actually makes it act like the touch screen, which is kind of convenient. Let me get this out of the way so I'm not dripping on everything. So anyway, I should have brought a paper towel. I didn't realize it was still going to be wet from last week. So you've got your basic arm type system, and it's just very squeaky. I would like to get arms that are more quiet, but so you got your typical underwater setup. So this is the video light here, and it's pretty powerful. You just press a button in the back, and you see it's pretty bright. I mean, when I'm diving, if I'm diving with the camera, which more often than I am, I don't bring a primary light because this thing works, and it can be stepped down in brightness. There we go. And this thing has got a wide throw, and it's very bright. It's as bright or not brighter than my main light, pistol grip light. So I'll typically just keep my backup, my BC light, which is always attached, and use this as my actual dive light. And then you also have your strobe. Let me switch cameras here. There you go. So here, and then here's the strobe. Basic on-off switch here. Let me see if I can get it to come on. Maybe not. Probably need to replace the batteries. Is it going to power up? Nope. If there's a downside to this strobe, it's this switch. The problem I have with it is it's very easy to accidentally push on when it's in storage when you put it somewhere, and so that'll sap your battery before you even realize it. So normally straight up is in the off position, flipped over to the on position, it juices up the strobe, and then you can do a little test flash by flipping it over here. But when it's like this, that's the off position, but a lot of times you accidentally gets slipped over. I think the video light, you have to use the silicone grease for its to seal it up, but on the strobe you don't. And so inserting the switch cameras here. Inserting the camera in here is not difficult at all. You have to make sure, and you can get replacement O-rings here. I'm going to have to switch back to this one to show you this. There's a bright red O-ring here to seal it. And you do not apply any grease to that, but you do need to make sure that there's no debris. So it comes with a little brush so you can brush all this off. And then you simply take the camera. Come on. Insert it in there. All right. And then there's a latch right here. Oops. It's hard to do it from the angle that I'm trying to show you. There we go. Snaps into place, and that's all there is to it. And so your controls, man, I'm really banging this. So the controls are on the top to turn it on, and the switch, and you've got your zoom control here. And then what they call piano key type controls there in the back. Makes it very easy to control this device underwater. And of course got the lanyard, etc. I love this unit. It is fantastic and reasonably priced too. John said he almost got a hold of one for, I think, $600. The whole rig, and which would have been awesome if he'd gotten it. And I guess the guy backed out at the last second, which is a shame. But yeah, it's a nice camera, and I tell you, I used an Intova camera, which are very inexpensive, for quite some time, till I really kind of started to get to know what I was doing a little bit more, and so I needed a camera that could do more based on what I needed to do. And now you start edging into professional level gear with this one, because it basically retails that rig retails for about $1,000. But you can if you are careful, you can do a little searching, you can get it cheaper than that. And they have new models out, new strobe, new video light, and they actually, to compete with the GoPro set, they actually have a Sea Life Mini that's really just like the GoPro and has all the neat little features. So you actually can do. As a matter of fact, I haven't looked at depth into it, but I'll bet you it's got a lot of the same features as the DC 1400. So it makes it better than the GoPro. The GoPro, I find, yes, everybody's got one. I've got one. I don't use it because I've got this, but you don't have the kind of controls that you do with the Sea Life cameras that are specifically. The GoPros are designed for multi-function use. The Sea Lifes are designed, they can be used for multi-function, but they're designed for divers and for snorkelers. So I think it's well worth it if you're really wanting to get into photography. It's a great value for the price. Let's see, as we wind things down, just want to let everybody know, Tara and I volunteer on a regular basis. Every Monday we volunteer at a Pet's Wish, which is a local pet rescue. They rescue dogs and cats. And the place that they've been running the operation out of, they're having to leave that place because the guy wants to do something else with it and doesn't want them in there anymore. And we helped out again last week, but we're not sure exactly what's going to happen. I know they're supposed to be out of there. Haven't heard anything, and so that kind of gets us a little worried. But we're really looking for some help. They need money for sure to help pay down the vet bills that they've accumulated. These animals come in such a sorry state, and nobody to help them but a Pet's Wish. And so, while a lot of people have donated time and money, Tara and myself are among those, most people do not. This town is, for the most part, turning a blind eye to this problem. It's just, relatively speaking, in a area of 40,000 people, it's just a handful who are helping out. So we need money to help pay down these bills and try to get enough cash flow so that we could do something about getting a new place to be. And we're also hoping and praying that somebody in Del Rio has a building and some property of sufficient size and configuration that they'd be willing to donate the use of. Not even asking you to give the property, although certainly would accept that. Just if it's not being used, hasn't been used for years, and there are plenty of places in Del Rio like that, we would love to make use of that place, and you get a tax break on it, etc. Because we're Pet's Wish is a 501c3 operation, so love to get into a new place. Right now, they're having to get rid of all the animals that they have. Because they have to shut down. So we're not exactly sure, Tara and I are not exactly sure where things stand. Okay. I had hoped by this weekend to have at least a little bit of video to share with you from our Upstagers revival of Soup du Jour. And I did see a message from the guy who did the videotaping that the DVDs were ready, but he was resisting all hails to let me know how I could pick it up, because I would have I would have gladly gone wherever, paid him the money, and been able to show you a little bit of the video. So this brings me to one of my rants. If you want people to contact you, be available, people. It frustrates me when people share a way to contact them, or they initiate a contact, like posting something on Facebook, and then they're not even paying attention. I'm not expecting people to hover over their texts and hover over their Facebook Messenger and all of that. But I am saying, make yourself available. If you want people to contact you for something, then be ready to be receptive. Be ready for them to contact you. I get very frustrated when I send a text to somebody and they totally blow me off. I get frustrated when I send an email to somebody and they totally blow me off. I get frustrated when I send a Facebook message and they totally blow me off. If you don't care to hear from me anymore, then tell me that. I have a thick enough skin. I have a thick enough skin that I'm okay with that. Because there's plenty of people that I care not to communicate with. And so I will unfriend you or whatever. I will let you know, I'm not going to be conversing with you. Or, I only talk to certain people. So tell me that. But it gets very frustrating if you've established a method that you prefer to be communicated with, and then you don't make yourself available to be communicated that way. So just be aware of that. It's not all about you. If you want to connect with people, you've got to make sure that they can connect with you. My other rant for tonight is, and I've gotten on this before, not on this program, but I saw it again today, and it just angers me. People, put your cart away. When you go to Walmart or H-E-B or wherever you're shopping, don't be so dadgum lazy. It's ridiculous for you to take a cart, walk all around Walmart or wherever, and you're loaded up with all this gear or all these goods that you're shopping for. Go through the checkout, and I've got dogs wrestling below me here. And then go all the way out to your vehicle, empty it out, only to park the darn thing behind some other vehicle. Most of these places have plenty of cart corrals. Take your lazy butt, drag the cart over to one of those corrals and put it away. You're not so important that you can't put stuff away. And to be honest with you, most of us can absolutely use just that little bit more of walking. So don't be lazy, because if I see you, I'll call you out. I will tell you that you're being lazy. It's that simple. There's no reason. There is absolutely no reason. You carried it full. You dragged it full out to your vehicle. It's now emptied. You don't have to be anywhere that quickly that you can't just go a few more feet and put the cart away. You do not want me to embarrass you in public, because if I see you, I will embarrass you in public. It's that simple. I put mine away. I typically put a number of them away. If you would like help, ask somebody. If for some reason and I can't imagine a case, if you got it out to your car, then you can certainly put it away. But if you would like someone to put the cart away for you, then at least ask. Don't be that person. Don't be that lazy, selfish, inconsiderate person that refuses to put the cart away. There are plenty of cart corrals close enough to where you are. Take your lazy butt, drag the cart, put it away. Don't be an annoyance for everybody else, because sure as the world, it's a windy day, and the cart you left sitting there is going to careen into somebody else's car. And whose fault is it? Yours, because you were lazy and inconsiderate. So that's my rant about putting carts away. All right, on lighter news as we close things out, tomorrow is, of course, Mother's Day. So for those of you who have mothers that you're helping celebrate with, do something nice for them. Although you should be doing something nice for them all the time. I mean, after all, they did raise you. Unless you had a total crumb as a mother, and there are growing numbers of people that's their situation. But you know what? You're where you are and who you are, at least partially because of what your mother was willing to do and sacrifice. And most, people don't come with with an owner's manual. Although I think the Bible does a pretty good job of giving you some of that stuff. But so your mom and your dad both did the best they could, especially if you're the firstborn. They're kind of going by flying by the seat of their pants, and they may have asked their friends and their parents to help, give them advice. But bottom line, they're doing the best that they can and trying to give you a better life than what they had, because that's pretty much what all parents want to do. They want you to have a better life than they had. So, do something nice for your mom tomorrow. If you can't be with her, give her a call. Send her an email, whatever. The more personable, the better. But just let them know. Tara's already called her mother, and because it's hard to get a hold of her mother just about any time, certainly during Mother's Day, because everybody's, some of her family, there's 9 kids in her family. Some of her kindred or her siblings are up there, so where her mother is. So, so make sure you do something for your mother on Mother's Day tomorrow. Our church does a whole Mother of the Year thing, and gives a little gift card to the mother with the most children present, the youngest mother. There's a number of things that we honor. We honor mothers, and we honor women in general on Mother's Day, because they are important. Father and mother are important. Each is unique. Each has unique things they bring to the family, the nuclear family, and so we celebrate that. So we're celebrating Mother's Day tomorrow at our church, so we're looking forward to. I'm curious to see. Now Vala is wanting to join. You want to say hi, or actually bye to everybody? Say bye to everybody? Yes, here, sweetheart. Do I have room for you back here as we shut things down? Here, flip back here. So I'm curious to know who's getting Mother of the Year this year, so it should be cool. All right, let's hit some administrivia. All right, moving right along with the dive classes, we've got the May 20th to the 31st one is, we do have someone signed up waiting for the study materials to arrive. That course is, of course, closed by now, because if you haven't gotten in your request, haven't signed up by now, you're not going to get in that class. Unless you're doing the e-learning bit, which means you could do that all online and then just print out the certificate, and then we just meet for the practicals. So so the next class after that will be June 25th through the 28th, then July 23rd through the 26th, August 27th through the 30th, and September 24th through the 28th. And make sure you sign up no later than the first week of that month so I can get your materials to you. If you need air fills, go check out Mike McCarson at the Broke Mill RV Park. He's got a big cascade system out there. Just give him a call ahead of time so he knows that you're coming, so he can make sure it's all fired up and got air in the big cascade system that he can fill your tanks with. Just give him a call at 830-719-2935. And as I mentioned earlier, Pets Wish also still needs donations to help pay down their debt. If you would like to keep up with what's going, I post videos from the dives, etc. Up at our Dive Club webpage. Just go to delriodiveclub.com and you can see the information about what's going on here. But if you want to be more up to date, in the know, of more dynamic things that are happening, just check out our Facebook page. Just look for Del Rio Dive Club. How easy is that? You can also send us a message via Skype. Just look for TGWD, which stands for Two Guys Who Dive. You can also send me an email at robert.wade@cetifox.net, just right here. Or you can follow me on the Twitter. I'm very prolific. If you follow me, unless you're a total knob, I will follow you. Just look for Robert CFP. And you can follow me on Twitter. I highly encourage it. That's pretty much all we have for this week. I may or may not have an episode next week. We have a big shindig going on. It starts in the early afternoon, but if it doesn't finish early in time for me to do the podcast, or I might get some additional co-hosts just on the fly there to do the show. So we'll see what happens, but I will post it on the Facebook page as well as on Twitter. If it looks like we're going to be postponing or preempting the show next week. But if not, we will certainly see you next time on another exciting episode of Two Guys Who Dive. See ya!